Happy August! I finished my Pride dolls, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you the process. First, let's do a little catching up of where we ended up in the last video. I did their face mats, I did their reroots, and I picked out outfits for them. And in this video I'm going to be altering the clothes to fit, like this skirt, which is way too big, and doing their face ups and styling their hair. Sometimes I think I should write scripts, but I always just get overwhelmed at the concept of even writing a script and then needing to read out the script. So we're just going to raw dog this. Here I took this skirt, which was a rainbow high skirt that I got off AliExpress, and I literally just took out one of the panels, reattached the Velcro, and then it fit quite nicely. And then for this doll, I took the belt off of this pair of pants that I'd made, and I think those are the edits that I had to do to the clothes. I think most of the clothes fit quite nicely. Then for this doll, which is the lesbian flag doll, I wanted her to have waves. You might remember that from the last video. And I did it by like braiding the hair with 2 pieces of hair but then 1 piece of ribbon so that it wouldn't be a full braid. I don't love how it worked. I'll have to find a way to like make nice looser waves, I think, because this came out looking a little straggly in my opinion, but it's okay. And then for the Men Loving Men doll, we're making curls in my usual way with my usual pipe cleaners. And if you haven't seen me do it before, I basically take a strand of hair that's quite thin and I kind of wrap a pipe cleaner around the bottom to secure it, and then I wrap all of the hair around the pipe cleaner up, but I try and keep the hair flat like a ribbon. If you can see, like, I'm rotating the hair around the pipe cleaner, but I'm not twisting the hair around itself, if that makes sense. And then I secure the pipe cleaner at the end. I did the whole head like that. This is just half, but I did the whole thing. And then it was time to actually modify this one. On the last video, someone commented that they should have top surgery, and I just thought for Pride dolls that was wonderful. I thought I might give the trans doll top surgery, but it didn't feel like it made sense. So then giving this one top surgery did feel like it makes sense. This is incoherent. I let that set. I did that with epoxy sculpt. I sanded it down with a Dremel, filled up the holes with epoxy sculpt, and then sanded it down again, and then painted over it. And now we're getting to the next part, which is that I actually had quite a busy week, but I had inspiration for the dolls. And I took the sketches that I'd made before and just went in with some very watered down black paint and sketched in the face shapes or the eye shapes that I wanted for each of these dolls. So I remember for the trans doll, I wanted her to look quite sweet. For the lesbian doll, I wanted her to have a bit of a fierce face, though in the end I do think she still came out quite cute. Then for the aromantic doll, which is this one, I wanted her to look a little bit cheeky. I gave both her and the lesbian doll a side glance. I think this one was the hardest doll to get the face right, honestly, but she was also the first one I did, so I think I might have just been a bit out of practice. And then for the Men Loving Men, or the gay doll, I wanted her to look kind of surprised, and I wanted her to look a little campy, a little silly, a little, I don't know, I wanted to have some fun with her. And I decided to actually give her dot eyebrows, which I don't think was originally in the plan, but I like all the round shapes I used on her. And here you can see all the test faces together. Then we're going into hairstyling, then I went into hairstyling. For this doll, because I planned to have her hair down and loose at first, but then I didn't love that because I just felt like it needed something more exciting, especially because her outfit is kind of simple. But I did not reroot her to have a parting down the back of her head. I actually went in and just like grabbed different sections and kind of like wove those over each other in the back so that there wasn't like an ugly like bare part on the back of her head. And then I braided her hair into 2 pigtails and I cut that off quite blunt. I thought that added a nice little bit of detail. And then we're already getting to the face ups. There's 4 in this video, and I think as we go on, they get better. But I also felt a constant need to do more exciting and different things because I didn't want them to look boring, all 4 of them together. So what I've done now is I filled in the whites of the eyes, and then I mixed quite a dark green to color in the bottom lip and the lines in the ears. Because all of these dolls are bats, but they're quite cartoony, they're quite stylized. They all have their bat ears, of course, on the front of their head. And each ear has these lines in them. And I think as I painted all of them, I kind of developed a way to like do it without needing to think too hard. And that way of doing it is with a light color first to block out the shape, then a darker color to kind of define the top of each stripe. Then I go in with midtones to like add texture, and then I use a light color almost matching the skin tone to define the like points between the stripes, if that makes any sense. I edited this to go quite fast because I am actually kind of tired and worn out lately, and so I thought it'd be nicer if I don't ramble too much. But for this doll, I wanted to make sure I had some color variation in her eyes, and I wanted to make sure to have some white in her makeup because the aromantic flag has white in it, and I wasn't able to get the interior reroute. Now we're working on the trans doll. She is my favorite, I think, after the Men Loving Men doll, because I think her face just turned out so sweet. I found her color scheme kind of tricky to work with because it's pastels and white, basically, but I decided that it would be fine if I used darker pinks and darker blues to add some definition to her face. So you can see that I did that. I'm now using like a mid-tone ultramarine on her lips and the insides of her ears and the inside of her nose to like give me something to work with, and then you can see going in with the darker color in all the stripes. And for all of these faces, I try to keep the ears and the nose the same tones and went in the same routine. One of the last steps I did every single time was clean up like the sides of the ears and nose to make sure that any messiness I did while filling in the darker spots wouldn't be too visible. And I did that on every single doll because I was already attaching the ears and the nose. I already had to color match the face, so then it felt like no extra trouble to, let myself paint a bit more messily and then clean it up later. Here you can see what I mean with like taking the lighter color and like defining the stripes. And then for this girlie's face, I kept the makeup really light. I just added like shading around her eyes and then let her eyelashes be the like main defining makeup feature. But then also I had a bit of a conundrum going. I chose to make her eyebrows pink because I thought the white eyebrows might not be contrasty enough. But then I also decided to make her eyes pink so that there was like a main pink feature in her face because she comes across as so blue. And I wanted there to be a balance of the pink and the blue in the face up. But then I got really conflicted about whether to make her lips pink or make her lips blue. I worried that if her lips were pink, that it would look too like that her face was blue and then her features were pink, that would like be imbalanced between the color hierarchy. But then also to make her lips pink felt like such an obvious choice. In the end, I did choose to just go with a darker blue. Here you can see I'm going in with quite a dark blue for her eyeliner. Or is it black? Is that black? No. I think it's a dark Prussian blue that I just mix some water into. For her lips though, to bring some visual interest, I don't think you can really see it in the video, but I added this thinnest line of pink above her top lip on her Cupid's bow, and I think that added some nice detail, and I am happy in the end of like the color balance that I found with her face. Here I'm using quite a light blue to define her bottom eyelashes, and I also added the line under the shadow on her eye, and with each of these bats I made sure to give them little vampire teeth because I just thought that would be really cute. and a way to like kind of unify their designs because they're all quite different. Now, for this one, which is the lesbian flag, I started to really get into a groove where, thinking back to this, I feel like I felt quite restricted by the color palette, but then also in the end I think I made some really creative choices on her face. So, restrictions can sometimes be really good. For her top lid, because she doesn't really have a crease line, I decided I would just paint a soft gradient from pink to the orange of her face. And then in her face, I kept trying to use a balance of like these reddish oranges and pinks, because the lesbian flag has those both, but then have them not like intrude on each other's space, if that makes any sense at all. Like using the same colors in her ears and her nose, but then also in her pupils. I was worried that it would look as if her ears were the same color as her pupils, if that makes any sense at all. So I tried to like make sure to use different textures and different shapes, and I think in the end it turned out really well. I used this like gem pattern in her iris, and I think it turned out really interesting and cute, and I really like the choices I made. For her eyeliner, I used a really dark violet color, but then there's these bright pink little eyelashes that you can see on her top eyelid that I think just look so cute. And then for these bottom eyelashes, I think I used like almost a lilac, like quite like the pink on the front of her head, but a little bit more cool toned, and connected it with like an eyeliner across her bottom lash line. But I think it looks so interesting. And then I also went in with like a really light orange to make those little spikes really sharp, and I just think it looks so good. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm like doing the little arm shake you do when you're like, oh my gosh. And for her eyebrows, I think in the sketch I had her with really thin eyebrows, but I felt like she needed something a bit more defined to balance her face. Here you can see again what I refer to in the ears, where I have all of these colors in there, and then I just pull a line of the skin tone through to kind of balance it, clean up around the nose, again because I let myself be messy at first. And for this one, I feel like I got the nose a bit asymmetrical, but I'm trying to like be cool about it. But I think her nose shape is so interesting, and I think it plays so fun with her really pretty eyes, but then she has, I'm sorry, but a little bit of an ugly nose. I think that's kind of cool. And for her lips, I also used a really dark purple. And then what also was important to me when it came to these faces is that I had a real diversity of shapes. So with this doll, there's a lot of triangles, but then for her top lip, it's just one round shape, which I think makes the side of the mouth look more pointy. But I also just, I don't know, I like the way that her face flows. And then I did these little, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but these little shapes on the little flaps in front of her ears, because I wanted there to be like excitement and different features on each doll, even though they have the same concept. And then I also put like a slightly darker orange on the top of her forehead, which is hard to notice when you're not looking for it, but I think it adds some really interesting color variation. And then I added some lighter color under her eyebrow to define it, and also because she has white in her color palette, and I wanted that to show in her face in more places than just the whites of her eyes. And I decided to put her hair up in these ponytails, which I later secured with thread because plastic rubber bands don't last that long. I did the same on the aromantic flag, but I didn't show it because it was actually really difficult to do. And now we're on to the last doll. Yeah. And this one ended up being my favorite, I think, just because I love how she turned out, but I also think that just like the practice paid off. So with this doll, I'm again a bit challenged with the color palette of just blues and turquoises, but I think I worked with it really well. And because I needed this like bright, vivid, like chartreuse to mix the brightest teal that I could, I think I use it some in the face up, I'm not sure. With each face up, I had like a different rhythm of like what I did when, but with this one, I felt really confident. And so the first thing I did was just finish up the irises. Usually, I work on each part as I move on and as my hand gets steadier, but I think here I did 2 face ups in one day, and so I just finished the face up. This little white stroke around the pupil, that's the last bit, and then the irises are done. And it actually felt so nice to like be building on top of this already finished bit of the face up, but it also, I don't know, it feels a bit unhinged. I know that there's this saying or this like myth that if you're creating something, the last thing you should do is give them eyes, because as soon as you give them eyes, they can feel pain, and that is so horrifying to me. Because I hope this girlie wasn't suffering. Like, I wasn't sanding her down while she had eyes, but I don't know. I don't know. I saw this meme today about Sid from Toy Story where it was like, he didn't even do anything wrong. He was just customizing his toys. Like, how was he supposed to know that the toys in Toy Story are alive? And that's actually so real. I'm scared that my dolls can feel what I do to them. I say, as yesterday I just had like a body mod prep day where I just sat with my Dremel on the balcony and drilled dolls into pieces. It's, it's the doll customizer life. I hope that you're watching this for just the fun of watching someone do a face up and maybe the joy of listening to someone ramble, because I don't think I'm being helpful in this voiceover at all. And I hope that's okay. We all have our days, and today is not mine. As I said, I've been so busy and I don't know how to relax lately, apparently. But today it's been forced upon me. My body has fully decided to give out on me. And I'm okay. I'm fine. I get to lay in bed today. I don't have anything I have to do except for laundry, which I did. We're all good. For this doll, let's get back to the video footage. You can see that I put so much detail into the little flap on her nose, and I think that's because there's nothing in front of it covering it up. But I have no idea what these lines are. I just thought they looked cool. And I kept going in with darker and lighter colors. I think now I'm again going in with an undiluted Prussian blue, which is again what I did for her eyelashes as well. And actually I forgot, but instead of bottom eyelashes, I just did little dots. Because for this doll, there's a lot of round shapes. I think she came out so pretty. I used like this ultramarine blue on her upper eyelids and her lower lip. And then it's time to take out her curls. I didn't like separate these curls yet. Once I finished painting these dolls, I actually left them to dry for a week and went on a trip. You'd think I know how to relax on a trip, apparently not. But I left her like this, left their faces to dry, and then once I got back from my trip, I varnished them. What I'm doing right now is actually applying medium because I can't read, but after the medium dried, I then put varnish on top of them. I think I did 2 or 3 diluted layers, and I let them sit unvarnished for a while actually, because the bottle says to leave acrylic paint to dry for at least a week, I think, before you varnish it. I will double check, but like, I don't know, I just felt like a real professional leaving them to dry instead of what I usually do, which is varnishing them immediately as soon as I get the chance. So I varnished all my girls. I had the hair like pinned out of the way and everything. And then last step, glossing their little faces. And this is just always such a satisfying step. I feel like it makes the colors in the eyes look so vivid. I feel like it really brings them to life. And now you can also kind of see the lineup already. I think they're so cute, the 4 of them. I think they're such a sweet lineup. We've got some more boyish ones, we've got some more girlier ones, we've got some sweeter dolls, we've got some more sassy looking dolls. I think this lineup has such character to them, and I just feel really happy. I feel really accomplished. I think it was a bit ambitious of me to say, yeah, I'm making 4 dolls in a month. Or it was too ambitious of me because I clearly did not get them done in a month. But I do feel really happy that I did this very involved project. And I'm just so happy with how they came out. Now we're finally taking the Men Loving Men doll and taking her little curls apart, I just separate a piece of the hair off and then twist it until the hair falls nicely. Sometimes you have to twist it a couple directions to find which one it wants to fall in. And then once I did that to all of the bits of hair, I cut off any uncurled bit. And with that, all of the dolls are finished. So I thought I maybe would record like some glamour shots or something, but I was really worn out and needed some rest. So you're just getting a slideshow. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen these pictures already. So come find me there if you like. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed seeing my process. Let me know which one is your favorite. I don't know if I already mentioned it, but my favorite is definitely the Men Loving Men doll. Her hair is just gorgeous to me. But I also think the lesbian doll has a wonderful face up. I really like the hairstyle of the aromantic doll. And then for the trans doll, her face is just so sweet. And I think her eyes are really pretty. And yeah, now, bye! See you for the next video.